Our final component of trust is ability. Now, we're defining ability in two ways. First, we're just talking about your talent or your competency. But the second definition includes something we're calling trustability, or the effectiveness in which you create a trusting environment. You're going to see how both are critical to establishing trust.
The last thing we want to talk about is ability. Now, this one is kind of interesting, but check out this Dilbert comic for a second, and I know a lot of you feel this way about your bosses. The bottom line is we don't, your intentions can be totally pure, and you can have all the integrity in the world, but if you don't have some sort of ability, some sort of capacity, I'm not going to trust you. I've got to believe that you are capable, that you can do your job, and that you know about my job. So how do we do this? You need to play to your strengths. You need to do those things that you are inherently good at. You need to find what those are and then play to those things. And then if there are some things that you are lacking in terms of ability, be honest about it and do something about it. Okay? Identify those things and be totally candid. I remember I worked at a place called the Wailua District Park. It was just a summer job that I got, and me and my friends, we applied for these jobs of just to be, work with these kids at this summer fun program. And for whatever reason, the boss gave me the assistant director job. Now, I was going over there. That meant I was put in charge of people who had worked there for like 4 consecutive summers. We were all about college age. I was a little bit older. And there was one girl, Malia. No matter what I did, she did not like me, it seemed. She did not trust me. And I came to find out through the grapevine is she didn't trust me because she felt like I had been given that promotion unfairly, and I didn't know her job. I didn't know what the people who were actually working with the kids directly, I didn't know actually how to do their job. And this really bothered me. This really offended me. Now remember what we talked about, humility, until I realized she was absolutely right. I didn't know her job. And so I had to have a very candid conversation with Malia and say, you're right, help me remedy this. And so she worked with me. She became my ally in fixing this, and we developed a very good relationship, a relationship based on trust. And so that was that was a good lesson to me. That's okay. I mean, you and I aren't going to be experts in everything, but if we're not, we need to own it, and we need to try and rectify it, because that a lack of ability can cost us trust, right? So we need to go out of our way to make sure we know our jobs, make sure we know our employees' jobs. Now, before we get to trustability here, I want to do a little poll with you. From what we've talked about, I want you to answer this question, because none of our agencies are perfect trust environments. I want to ask which element of trust is the biggest concern to you in your agency or in your team, whatever you want to answer. Is it intentions? Do people feel maybe that there are bad intentions? Is it a lack of integrity, or is it a lack of ability? What do you think it is that is leading to a less trust than there should be in your agencies? Please go ahead and answer that. Here are the poll results that you're seeing. Intentions. People maybe don't trust. Now, this doesn't surprise me, but from what we're reporting here is that maybe our staff don't realize that really what we want is for them to be successful. And very often this can be the case when there has been a lack of a trusting environment in the past. I know I talk to a lot of supervisors who take over these very toxic environments, and they say, how do I get this trust back? How do I do this? So to me, that's really interesting, and we want to talk about how we make those intentions clear and how we increase this last thing you'll notice on your screen, trustability, because this is a skill. Just like anything else, trustability is important, and you need to know that we all have different styles, different strengths. That's okay, but unless there is trust, mutual trust, there's no leadership. So the question now becomes, and I believe this will help you with that, especially with those intentions. How do we increase our trustability here? Well, here's how we do it. It's these things. Share information forthrightly and with transparency. Share as much information as you can. Treat people like they matter, and actually feel that they matter, because if it's a gimmick, people will sense that. Own and correct mistakes. That is, if you make a mistake, own up to it and fix it. We'll talk more about that here in a second. Now, this other one is really critical and something that, to be honest with you, I kind of struggle with, and that is behave loyally. I suspect you have some staff that you trust more than others, or that you have a better relationship more than others. But here's what happens. If I pull a staff member into my office behind closed doors and I start saying, hey, what's going on out there? Okay? Or I start talking about other staff members, even though I might say, well, I'm having this conversation with you because you and I are tight and I trust you and we're in the loop. After a while, it's very likely that that staff member starts to think, wait, what happens the next time I see my coworker go in his office or her office and the door is closed? In fact, one of my earliest jobs, again, I had not been there very long, and the supervisor, she did a performance appraisal meeting with me, even though I had only been there a month or so. She's doing it just to go through the process, and she said, so how are things going with the other workers? I said, oh, that's good. She said, well, is there a lot of backbiting and fighting? And she was really trying to dig and get stuff going. This is the same boss that where our meetings were simply telling us where we were screwing up, and saying, well, so-and-so makes this mistake, and you're going to see that so-and-so does this, and started bagging on these other workers, saying, and essentially said, don't worry, all these things I just talked about, you're going to start seeing them soon. And I really left kind of flabbergasted and said, what? So when they go in for their performance, is she just going to be digging up dirt on me? And it really created that there was no loyalty there. So you want to behave loyally to all your staff. It's really a way to increase our trustability. The other thing is, don't avoid unpleasant realities. Look, if something bad, major, significant has just happened at your organization, if things are not positive there, if there's been major rifts, if there's been a major budget cut, if anything like that, own it. Don't avoid that. Don't talk around it. Address those things clearly. People know about them, and we only seem like we're scared to talk about them, or we don't trust our people enough to handle that kind of information. And these next two kind of go together, and that's clarify expectations and create cultures of accountability. We create a trusting environment when we are very open with people and say, look, here's what you are going to be held accountable for. Here's what I expect of you, both in terms of performance and behavior, and these are going to be the consequences if you don't follow through. I'm going to hold you accountable for that. That's not being mean. Being candid about it is actually creating an environment of trust. You're saying, I'm going to give you every opportunity to be successful. I'm going to do everything I can to help you be successful, and I'm going to tell you what the rules of the game are. If we want to create environments where there's no trust, the rules are vague. They're unclear, or they don't exist. And people are wondering, well, I don't know how I'm doing, and so why am I going to give extra effort? Why am I going to do this? Why did I get an unsatisfactory here and this person didn't? Why, the fair thing to do is to give those clear expectations and then hold people accountable. And then the last thing is to be the first to trust. And this is where you and I need to be leaders. If we're going to have trustability and trusting environments, we need to actually be the ones who be the first to trust. And we do this in a couple of ways. The first way is that we have to be willing to make ourselves vulnerable. We have to be willing to say, I'm okay with you knowing stuff about me, and I'm going to share stuff with you because I trust you with that information. The other thing that we do is we empower people. Okay, we trust them to do the job. Those of you that are familiar with this kind of principle, it's theory X, theory Y. It's treating them like theory Y. Trust people to do the job. Trust people to work from home when they need to. Trust people with challenges and with new goals. And look, let's be very candid here. There is no doubt that at some point in your management and leadership careers, someone's going to break your trust. Someone is going to disappoint you. Someone's going to violate that trust that you have extended. But you have to be willing to endure that, because more often people are going to live up to that trust that you've given them. You're going to create that trusting environment. I love this from Harper Lee, who wrote To Kill a Mockingbird. When we're paying the highest tribute to a man or a woman, when we trust them to do right. It's that simple. And Ernest Hemingway, another author, said, the only way we can find out if someone is trustworthy, if they're worthy of that trust we can give them, is to give them that trust. So yeah, we're occasionally going to be disappointed, but more often than not, you are going to see results because you were the first to trust, and you've created that trusting culture.